What's up, y'all? It's your girl Jay Renee with Prison Ride Radio. I hope that you're doing well. This morning, we're going to be speaking with a mother. All right, she's out of Bell County, and she was to tell you the story about what's going on with her son. He's been charged with a crime that not only did he not commit, there's no evidence proving that's so. So we're going to talk with her, and she can give us more insight. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for, taking the time to be with us so we can learn more about what's going on with your son. So,
Yes.
yes, ma'am. So, before we start, let everyone know your son's name and just the type of guy he is, type of young man.
Okay. My his name is Omarion Brown. He usually goes by OB. He was a great kid. He struggled a lot growing up, but nothing different from any other teenage boy.
So yeah, the pretty average life. So, have y'all lived in the Bell County area his entire life?
Yes, we are from this area.
Okay.
We've been here all our lives.
All right. So tell me a little bit more about Bell County and how things are, how things are ran there. I've heard a lot of things about it and not necessarily good.
No, it's not a good area. It's been a lot of things going on with these young black children. I personally have experienced it not just with my own son, but with two of my younger cousins. Right now, they are serving time in Bell County. They got railroaded. They were young. They didn't understand, so they basically signed their lives away, and now they're spending years in jail for something that they didn't do.
Wow.
And when it comes to my son, I refuse. I told him don't sign anything, don't agree to anything.
Right. So tell us more about exactly what's going on with your son.
Well, my son, he had a long track record as a juvenile, getting into trouble, getting into in and out of things. It started last year with the Temple Police Department detective in Temple. He would basically follow my son around, harassed him the whole time he was 16. Months before his birthday, my son was in an altercation where he was shot in both of his legs. He shot back, defending himself. That Detective Moore, he made statements basically saying that he was a menace to society, and he was just basically a bad kid. Like, he was no good, and that's not my son.
Okay.
Not my son at all. He tries to avoid any type of drama, anything like that. Well, my son was constantly getting harassed by this detective. I heard the detective verbally tell my son one time when my son called me on FaceTime. He was visiting his girlfriend and his best friend in Temple, and he called me on FaceTime, and I see my son is surrounded by police and the detective, and I hear the detective state that basically he's going to get him when he turns 17. And I'll make a complaint to the Temple Police Department. It stated that the woman that was at the front desk stated he has a lot of complaints on him when it comes to that Detective Moore of Temple Police Department. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of confused on why is he still here. Well, I made the statement, reported it, and everything. Some time goes by, things kind of died down, and then after my son, he got shot, he was healing, he goes to go visit his girlfriend. He finally leaves out the house within a month after just being in the house trying to heal. Mm-hmm. And he goes to Temple and tries to see his girlfriend. As soon as he pulls up into the parking lot, they serve him with a warrant for deadly conduct with a firearm. When they did pull up on him, he did have a gun in his lap. He did admit that because he did state to tell them he did not feel safe.
Okay, yeah.
And it was the Detective Moore that was there on the scene, and the report when he got arrested stated that it was a traffic stop. It was not a traffic stop. They were literally parked in the driveway. Like they were sitting there before a couple minutes before anybody pulled up.
Right. So it's as if they was just waiting for him to pull up, or was
basically
following him.
He felt like they followed him from my house all the way to Temple.
Okay.
Because I live in Killeen, and Temple is like a 30-minute drive.
Okay, got it.
Yes. And from there, he was in jail. We was able to get him out within like a month and a half. He was out. When he got out, he started working 2 jobs. I was trying to help him go ahead and get back in school because he did drop out because he was dyslexic and it was really hard for him. He went through a depression stage. He dropped out. He felt like he couldn't do it. And he was like, Mom, I just want to get back to what I need to do so I can get back on track. He was like, I was doing young stuff and I don't want to be that person.
Right.
So he's working on getting him back in school. I get a call from him stating that he had some of his friends called telling him that Detective Moore was basically saying, where is he at? He's a suspect for murder and all this other stuff. And we were confused. Like, what are you talking about? He was literally just in jail. Nobody said anything about nothing. And we're confused about what murder he was talking about.
Right.
When we finally find out what murder he was talking about, it was confusing because at that time frame, yes, I did report him as a runaway in that time frame, but he had came back home. I reported that he was home, but they didn't fix it in the system, so it was showing that he was a runaway for months. And within that time frame, the shooting happened, the murder of a young boy, and basically they're trying to say that he had something to do with it, but he doesn't communicate with this young boy. Yes, he's seen him around, but it was nothing, like they weren't close or anything like that. And they were trying to say it was gang related, and I'm like, he's not even in a gang.
Right.
And they were like, well, he got these tattoos and this and this, and the tattoo that he has is Killeen. It's a cave that everybody in Killeen that grew up here gets.
Okay.
So it's not a gang. It's literally a cave that I'm from Killeen.
Like a trend.
There's no, yes, basically. And they were like, he was harassing all his friends, basically. Then it comes to, he said he couldn't find him, which I don't understand because he worked 2 jobs. And at this time, it was easier for him to get the job out in Temple than waiting out here. So he was working 2 jobs in Temple. And he was, and I didn't understand how you say it was hard to find him when he's working 2 jobs. It's easy to find him.
Right.
He's
and I'm sure Temple isn't so large that everybody don't know what's going on.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not big at all. Everybody knows everything.
Got it.
Yes. And from there, I didn't really hear too much about it. And then I get a call from my son while I'm at work, my youngest son, his little brother, and he usually doesn't call me because he knows I'm at work, so he texts me. So I'm like, something's not right. So when I answer my phone, he tells me Detective Moore basically followed him to his friend's house, sat outside, waited for them to come back out, and he cuts my son and his friend off. We're in Killeen, Texas at this time. Detective Moore came from Temple, followed my youngest son around, cut him off, and said, where is your brother? And my son, being him, he was like, I'm not telling you anything. And he was like, well, I need to talk to your mom. So he calls me and he tells me, and I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, Mama, he cut us off with his truck. So I'm like, okay. He was like, I want to talk to her. I was like, well, go ahead and give him the phone. I'm talking to him. He was like, your son is a suspect in murder. He's not telling me that he's stating that he has a warrant out for murder and anything like that. At this time, he's stating that he's basically a suspect in the murder, and it could be a warrant out for his arrest. He never basically flatline said it is a warrant out for his arrest for this murder. So I'm just like, okay. He was like, you need to bring him in, and this and this. And I'm confused the whole time because he's not hiding.
Right.
He's not hiding. He's not running. he's literally been at work.
Right. Just working.
So I was trying to understand. So I'm like, okay, like, I started this new job. The shifts I'm working, I'm not able to do that. Things died down. Didn't hear anything from this person again. I get a call from my son and his girlfriend. They were on their way to lunch in Temple, and when I video call. So when I answered it, he's like, "Mom, you got to get down here. They got the car surrounded." So I'm confused, like, "Whoa, what? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Mom, look," and it was so many cars. So I literally hop in my car, shoot down the Temple. I literally got there 5 minutes after they took Detective Moore basically took my son to jail. When I pull up to the scene, I asked them what's going on. They asked me who I am. I said, I am Omarion Brown's mother. What is going on? Oh, he has a warrant out for murder. And I'm like, what?
Right.
I literally talked to them. In that meantime, in that time frame, I asked his lawyer. His lawyer couldn't find anything. Everybody was confused. What are you talking about? Oh, he had a murder out for murder for months. Just mind you, he was literally just in jail.
Right.
So if that was the case, he would have never gotten out of jail.
Correct.
The first time. If it's been months.
Mm-hmm.
Because he only had been out for almost 2 months.
Okay.
And he was in jail for 2 months.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
It's a lie. I'll call it what it is. It's a lie.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I'm upset. I broke down because I'm like, it's no way. It's no way. So when he gets to jail, I find out that he has a juvenile hold, and I'm like, hold on, what's going on? I'm trying to get information. They're not giving me nothing. Finally, I get a call from this probation officer, Rice, Mr. Rice, and he was like, I'm your son's probation officer, his juvenile probation officer. My son had got some citations at the end of 2020, and honestly, me and him have forgot about the citations. And I'm like, okay, but nobody has contacted us. Nobody has, nobody actually mailed us anything or anything like that as a juvenile. And Mr. Rice, when I spoke to him, he was like, well, his probation officer before, she said she had been trying to call you and leaving messages. I was like, it was a woman that came to my door, yes, and told me that she was juvenile probation, and she had been trying to call me, but when she told me the number, I said, ma'am, that's my ex-wife's number.
Right.
I gave her my number. Do you think that she called me when I gave her my real number? Mm-mm. No. She did not contact me. I didn't hear anything until my son was back in jail and a whole new probation officer.
Wow.
And I didn't hear anything. He was like, yeah, she tried to contact you. No, ma'am. No, sir. No, she did not. After I spoke with her and told her that was my ex-wife's number, and we do not communicate any type of way.
Right.
And I gave her my number and my name because she has my ex-wife's name. She did not contact me at all. So I didn't understand what was actually going on until he got arrested. So him having a juvenile hold on him, he couldn't. They weren't going to drop anything until he turned 18. So my son got arrested December 12th. He has been in jail since that time, and he just had a hearing to transfer all his juvenile things over to adult court the first week of May, right before his birthday.
Do you know? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then in that meantime, I had no answers.
So you still have no answers?
Basically, no. Right. We go to the hearing and I'm thinking it's for the juvenile stuff. We go to the hearing because the murder stuff, they stopped talking about.
Okay. They
were stuck on the juvenile stuff. So I'm like confused. We go to the hearing and they have people testifying, saying statements, but none of the statements match. Even the two young men that were in the car when their friend got killed, their two statements don't match. They have a statement from a young lady that is an ex-girlfriend to my son, and he wanted nothing to do with her. Her story not making sense. And it was another young lady, her story not making sense. So it was just confusing. And I'm like, okay, so y'all transfer everything over, then I'm like, did y'all drop the juvenile charges and y'all just focus on the murder charges? Because from my understanding, it was the juvenile things. Then they're asking questions. My son's lawyer was asked, the detective and his probation officer, because Mr. Rice testified against him as well. And he asked both of them, do you have any physical evidence tying Mr. Brown to this murder? Both of them flat out said no.
So, Mr. Rice is the new probation officer, correct?
Yes.
So testify against him to say what? Had he even met your son?
No. Let me take that back. He went to the jail and talked to my son a couple times, but he's not talking about anything.
Right.
He's basically doing asking childhood questions. That's all he's doing. My son is bipolar. He does have bipolar depression. He had been diagnosed at like 12 or 13, but he saw me because I fight with PTSD, depression. I fight with a lot of things. So he saw me at a young age have to take medications to find out what works for me. And he didn't want to do that for himself. So we found out alternatives so he wouldn't have to be on meds, because I understood because I was going through it. Right. So we're finding alternatives so he wouldn't have to be on medication. So he just recently got on medication while he was in jail, because it got hard. It got worse for him. Mm-hmm. Because he was upset. That can just distraught anybody. They're going through something that they didn't do. Most definitely. And he tells them, and so they're charging him with this murder, the deadly conduct that he was in jail for before, and then the firearm they had just charged him with now, which I understand, because when he got arrested with the deadly conduct, I felt like he should have got charged with that right then and there, but they waited to charge him with the gun that was in his lap that he said, yes, I did have to protect myself. Right. So they charged him with those two as well as a murder. And they're trying to say that basically the shooting that happened and all that other stuff, basically trying to tie everything together, but the dates are completely separate. The events are completely separate.
I see exactly what's going on here. Is there anything else you would like to share about what happened or what's going on?
No, not at this moment.
I don't even know what to say, really. I hate that your family is going through this, that your son is going through this. Tell us, the listeners and those that might be watching, what can we do to support you?
At this moment, I just want parents of this young black man community to let's try to stick together. Let's really bring awareness. And it's sad because we've been bringing awareness, but at some point, it needs to be a change. And right now, I just need all the support I can get, because I'm trying to just get a lot of people together to bring awareness to the Temple Police Department, because I've had so many people, when I first posted my son's story, get in my inbox and tell me about this detective in Temple.
Right. And you said, just to reiterate, the front clerk said that this guy has a lot of complaints against him.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know his full name?
No, I just know Detective Moore. I don't actually know his full name.
All right, we're going to try to get that information. Like I said, we hate that you're going through this, but we're definitely going to spread the word on this. Hopefully, we can get more and more people talking about this so that they can put the microscope on that area. Bell County, your son's case, there's there's too many cases that's coming out of there with stories
Mm-hmm.
like these about Bell County, you know?
Yes.
So I definitely appreciate you for taking your time to chat with us.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.